Hi everyone. So I'm just going to be taking you through how to check your internet speed. And the reason why it's a two-step process is that there are two things that actually determine the speed of your internet at home. And so just want to start by walking through this little diagram to say that this is obviously the internet. This is your modem or your internet service provider device, and that could be for fiber or it could be for LTE, etc. And this is generally what you pay for. So you're paying for something like a 10 meg line or a 100 meg line or an LTE line, etc. And that's the first thing. Now you can never get faster internet than what you paid for, yeah. Um, and then the next box, the black box, is how you sharing it. So how do you, this internet coming in, so if it's coming in a 10 megabits line and you're sharing it, this is now sending it to the different devices in the building or in your home. And so for example, if this speed is 10 and this speed is 100, then what I'm going to get to my laptop is really just a maximum of 10. If number one is 100 and number two is 10, then although this is 100, as that wireless signal goes out at 10, it'll reduce the 100 down to 10. It'll make sense in a moment. So this is a detailed guide on how to do it. Effectively, phase one is a blended result that's giving you on this wireless laptop the speed, which is taking into account both 1 and 2 combined. So if you go through the steps on the left here, you'll see that we're looking through the different things. The main thing for us is around up speed and down speed because we're doing voice calls, and then also the what's called your ping. Another word for it would be latency, and that's just how long it takes for what you say or what you send out of your connection to come back to you. So it's almost like an echo. If you're standing at the top of a hill and you go hello, the speed at which it takes for that hello to come back is effectively what that is. We want those numbers to be in better than 10 is amazing. Up to 30 is even fine for Euphoria. This download speed over here, we generally want it to be more than 8. And this upload speed, we're generally wanting it to be more than 4. This doesn't take into account what else is happening on your network. So I'm going to just do my test. I'm going to click on speed test. That's now opening up. And you've got to wait for it to connect to a second server. So once there are 2 names there, you can hit OK, or shall I say go. That's now going to tell me that the speed is 3 milliseconds. So that's really quick. The download speed is kind of hovering around in the 80s there. We'll see where it ends up. And while the upload speed's being tested, I'll explain a bit. So you'll see that I've got 92.29. I pay for 100 megs. So where's the others, just over 7.5 gone? Well, it might be because of my Wi-Fi connection. It might be because my kids are next door having a look at something. But you very seldom get exactly what you pay for, because I've also got neighbors who are on the same service, and it also depends what they are doing. So at the end of this, I've got a 3 millisecond, which is less than 10, great. Up to less than 30 is probably still good. I've got more than 8 downloads, so that's good. And I've got more than 4 uploads, so that's good. And again, like I say, if you had the smaller amounts and people are watching Netflix, that's where it starts getting interesting, or audio streaming, etc. So that's the first step. So if you're getting less than 10, more than 10, or more than 8, and more than 4, you probably don't need to do the next step. But if you're finding difficulty with your connection, the next step is helpful. So the next step, just to remind us, is from the little black box here to your computer. Just as an aside, if you could run a cable from this black box, which is your router that you've got in the house, if you can run a cable to your computer, then obviously that's going to give you a guaranteed connection between the two. The Wi-Fi does fluctuate a little bit depending on interference and number of users. So the next step is just to get an idea of what is my laptop connecting to the network as. I hover over there, it's giving me 5 bars. So my general sense is good, but it's hard to see exactly what it is. And ironically, it's quite difficult to find where the actual speed is. And so the next page is a little bit more IT heavy. It's got a step. So step 1 says go next to the start button and type in run. So there, if you don't have that, then when you click the start button, it should appear. But you're going to type run. When you type run, it's going to say, hey, I've got an app called Run. We say, yes, please, I want that one. It then opens up. Then you've got to type in without any spaces, ncpa.cpl. Okay, it's just a code that or an application that you're launching, ncpa.cpl. Actually control panel, but you'll see when I get there. So you type that in, you hit OK, and that'll launch this screen. If it doesn't launch the screen or your run command's not working, then you just go through the longer way, through control panel, through networking, etc., and you get to network connections. If you still can't find that, then Clayton can help you find it, or your IT support. So you'll see I'm not testing Bluetooth or my Ethernet, which is the cable. I'm testing my Wi-Fi. So I can see that I'm on the Gibbon 5R Wi-Fi. I right-click on that and I choose status. And on status, it tells me that my speed is 300. But you saw just a few moments ago that my speed test showed 92. So why would I only have 300? Why would I have 300 but only have 92? Well, I'm only paying for 100 meg from my service provider. This number is largely dependent on the number of users or devices on the network, how many like walls this Wi-Fi signal goes through. So generally it's like 2 brick walls. When 2 bricks, that's generally what it can do. And after that, it's like whatever you get is like good for you. So if you're getting a bad connection speed, just get closer to your device with less walls in the way. I happen to be sitting pretty close to my device. So normally, if you were through a wall, you would see this number going up and down, up and down. As long as this number is consistently bigger than, say, 50 megabytes, 50 megabytes, you're probably going to be fine. If it dips below that, sometimes it might dip below 10 or 5, then that's when you will start hitting some issues. And if your Wi-Fi router's on the floor, the bed, like next to the bed, it does even impact then. So you really want to make sure it's in a good space. But if that's high enough, then you're good to go. So just looking at that PDF, all this technological like stuff at the top there is just really to help you get to this page where you can see your Wi-Fi, then right-click status, and it'll show you what you're connected to and the speed you're connected at. So that's about it. Currently, Euphoria is saying 2 meg up is fine, as long as there isn't a lot of other stuff happening on the network. If you're generally more than 5 up and more than 5 down even, you're going to be fine if your ping is less than 30 for Euphoria. But obviously if your housemates, digs mates, children, whatever it is, are using Netflix, it's going to start impacting that. So just make sure when you do this test, you're sitting where you are working and going to be working, not right next to the device, because location is very important when you do the test. Cool. Hope that helps.